there was a statement made by Kissinger decades ago, and he talked about, if you're trying to depopulate an area, you can do it through conflict, but it's very slow and tedious.
Be careful with the words you use, sir. I know what you're about to say.
So you can do it a lot of different ways. You can do it, thermonuclear, but then there's a lot of leftover residue that screws up the neighborhood, and wait a long time for you to come in there and do what you want to do readily. So you can do it by the means that a lot of people think is being used against us right now. And yes, I'm being coy. Figure it out. Okay. But when you're done, you walk in, spray a few walls down or whatever, if you think that's even necessary. If it wasn't airborne because it was directly whatever, then maybe you don't even have to worry about that. So all of a sudden, you walk into a nice pristine area. Well, who could want a summer paradise? Because where they're at, it's very, very cold. Okay. Who might be looking for, a Hawaii for their continent to go hang out in? And by the way, their buddies have bases all over the place out in the middle of the desert and doing stuff already. They want to run back and forth and have a nice place to work from. And other places just have too many people and they're too populated, and you don't want to mess them up anyway. You already got a presence there. There's a lot of angles here that are going on.
So this depopulation is going to go in phases, right? I mean, we were talking about that earlier.
Basically, okay. Let's go there. Hold on a second. I don't want to just skip into it. Look, if the plan is as they've been telling us all along, we want a planet with 500 million people. That's what the Georgia Guidestones are all about. Who put that up? What were they trying to say? They always tell you what they're going to do before they do it. It's kind of this: God tells you what he's going to do, and you have to decide and react or make changes. The devil himself tells you what he's going to do. It's like some, ordained principle. And if you don't do something about it, it's a sin of omission. The bad karma's on you. You knew what was going on.
That's to deflect the karma off them onto us, so to speak?
Onto us, yes. Because
this is like a universal law, right?
This is the way that they view it. They don't get judged by God, bad karma from God or the world or whatever, because you did it to yourself. They just walked into the gap. It's literally that way. So if you agree to self-terminate, if you go along with it, well, you bear a lot of the responsibility yourself. You're the one that made the decision. If you didn't search out the information fully, look, go back to Eve. Eve was beguiled. She believed a lie. She went along with it. She wasn't raped. If she'd been raped, it would have been different. But she was a willing partner, according to their theology. So if you don't see it in the Bible, that the original sin was sex with the devil, the Lucifer, Satan, Samael, the serpent, who had a different physical body before he was cursed and made to crawl the earth.
Let me ask you this. So her biting the apple, it was sex with Satan? That's what you're saying? That's really what that was?
This other entity, Lucifer, the devil, who had some type of...
Could we call it a reptilian?
Well, look, when the devil was cursed, or Satan, Lucifer, the serpent, was cursed, it was changed in its bodily form and had to crawl on the earth. No arms, no legs. That's the understanding. So it was changed in its form somehow. It was humanoid at some level, but humanoid, not a descendant of Adam, not human. So that would make the offspring, if Cain was an offspring, I talk about this in the book, half human, half something else. They believe that they're more than human, not less than human, that they're human plus. They're a hybrid. We're merely human.
And this is what they believe.
Yes.
I have a hard time believing any of this, but but if this is what they believe, this is what that cult believes, literally.
Yes, and so you're dealing with a religion. You're dealing with a cult that has certain ways that they view the world and everything that happened, and it's they've concocted a certain theology, ideology, mythology around what happened. You don't have to agree that it's true. So where a lot of Christians get hung up, I don't see it in the Bible. Jews get hung up, I don't see it in the Bible. I don't know what you're talking about. It's not in the Torah. Well, a lot of them do see that in there. So if you're in that mode where you get hung up on, well, you didn't see it, it's not what you believe, then you just lost it. Okay. This is what they believe. So with that in mind, It's a religion. It's a cult. They believe that Eve had sex with the serpent, who had a different physical form, was cursed by God, made to crawl the earth. And so the serpent is a reptile. So when they laugh at you about the reptilian race, the aliens, the reptilians walking amongst us, what are they really talking about? The hybrids, the royal family.
You really want to go there right now with this? Because I mean,
well, let's just talk about it for half a second.
Okay,
So
because I know we talk about it, but maybe my audience.
Let's talk about it for half a second. I've talked about the book. People have heard me talk about it before.
Okay.
This cult believes that they are more than human, and that they have the right to take over the planet, and that we're the interlopers, we're the invaders. God planted us here to push them off. So they're pushing back. And the original sin was this hybridization of the human race. Eve agreeing to have sex with the enemy, if you will, the green man. Why? Because he hid amongst the green leaves of the trees, chameleon-like. It's their religion. That's why they have green everything, because they're trying to concoct this whole fable or whatever. So at the end of the day, they have this belief that we're invading their space, and we always have. So we're the problem, and they want to depopulate the earth, repopulate it with their people. Okay, well, that depopulation, repopulation is their right. Is the way they see it. We're the invaders. We are infesting the earth. We have to be eliminated. So attacking us, getting us to self-terminate, that's our responsibility. We took it on ourselves. We're guilty of it. You agree to it? Well, you're the idiot. And they're pushing it as hard as they can. They're trying to intimidate and force us to go these places that suit their purposes. And then the conversation that you and I were just having, the reason why you want to do the call, look, they'll take the low-hanging fruit. Those that will go along with it and agree to it and just do it, okay, well, that eliminates a lot of the problem. They'll take all of that low-hanging fruit they can get. If they can knock the numbers down 10, 20%, that's 10 or 20% less.
It's less of a headache when they start having to use force. In other words, less people to deal with.
They get rid of the low-hanging fruit, and then what do? They come in and get a little bit harder, but you've already lost a significant part of your infrastructure, and you're having a hard time stopping. You have less people to resist. So who's gonna, now you're already on your heels. They come from
and then half of those people are going to be complying with every mandate and whatever else they push forward. So then that's another half right there going to them.
Right. So, and then when do you decide to all of a sudden amp up after you're down by 20, 30, 40, 50%? And who are the ones that are hit first? The best, the brightest, the youngest, those that serve in the military, those that do the policing or the doctoring or anything else. So, who gets taken out first? The smarter, older ones that have a few gray hairs on their head. While you're still dealing with the crisis, it's a lot easier to deal with you. You're in grief, you're distracted, you're whatever. And now they come for the next batch because they want 13 out of 14 people currently alive on the planet. Dead, 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 dead. Come on, man. I mean, am I overstating it?
A lot of people would think this is conspiracy. I believe it is fact along with you, Juan. But for my audience, a lot of people are going to be, I don't know. That's conspiracy. Come on. Nino. How do we stress this? Okay. Well,
sometimes conspiracies are real. Okay. Let's not screw it up, but let's just talk for a second. I showed you the figures out of the military's own
you sound like me now.
Yeah, you get me all wound up. I haven't even had a Perrier yet today, man. So I'm gonna go have a Perrier here in a few minutes. But that bubbly water goes in my brain and makes it gurgle a bit.
Yeah, right. You're gonna have a shot of tequila. Come on.
No. Actually, I did have a good tequila drink the other day, but anyway. Well, but then I have my Perrier. I actually enjoyed the Perrier better, I think. I like mine with lots of ice. Everybody's like, why do you have so much ice? Because I love the ice, because I need the ice, like cool down. Is that true? I drink more Perrier than anybody on the planet, right? I'm getting nods over here. Yeah, I drink a lot of Perrier or soda water. That is probably my drink of choice for real. So, but you have to think about this. in the military, U.S. military's own statistics that I sent you today on all the various ways that we're seeing injuries or deaths, total in multiple categories in the last year, we've seen it go up, 15 and 20 times in multiple categories, not just one, multiple. And it's like stunning. And you just go page after page after page. You go, no way. I can't believe it. As well
what
as
is it, like aneurysms, heart attacks?
It is across the board. I mean, I think I had 20 categories in there, and there wasn't a single one that wasn't up. I mean, I think the lowest one was up 3 times from the previous year. And over the 5-year rolling average, the rolling average, there was a deviation of like 5 or 6% year to year to year in all these different categories. And then every single one of them rockets to outer space. The one category, I think in the heart stuff, they had 4,000 something or other up to 74,000.
Has our entire military been given?
Who benefits? Who benefits? Nino,
China.
I'm being careful.
China.
Well, or somebody.
Yeah. Well, okay. I know what you're talking about.
There's probably lots of places that benefit. At the end of the day, it's our enemies that benefit, whoever they are. And they could even be internal.
Okay.
It could even be internal here, because who wants us gone so they can take up wherever we're at? It doesn't make any sense if the original problem is only a problem to a fraction of a percent of the population, and even those figures are highly inflated, most likely. Why would you do stuff that has much, 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 much greater likelihood of injury or death? Why? And why would you mandate it? The Canadians right now are under siege. It goes both ways. In battle, in war, you watch a physical kinetic engagement, and it's very fluidic. Sometimes it all looks like it's going one way. Some group will dive in deeper and deeper, and then all of a sudden they go too far into the other side, and bang, everybody closes in around them and they're gone. So they look great right up until they got squished to death. It's a very fluid kind of a moment. The question is, you have people that forged ahead, went straight into the battle, put it all on the line, not just physically being present, but taking the asset that makes them a living and putting it on the line. I mean, Nino, think about this. This is the piece of equipment that is like somebody's millstone. If you in an earlier age had a farm and it had grains, and then you had a millstone, and you'd have your cow, and the cow would walk around in circles, and this huge stone, which had tremendous weight, is on a bar, and the cow's walking around and it's squishing all the grain. You're throwing more grain in there, and it mashes up to make your flour and stuff like that. And it just makes it easy with the big stone there. But that's how you make your food. That's how you make your living. That's how you survive. If somebody comes and steals your millstone, from a scriptural standpoint, it was the same as if you murdered them. Why? Because you took away their ability to make their sustenance. These people have taken this asset that oftentimes costs huge amounts of money, several years of income. Not just anybody can go out and have that asset. They save up, they do a mortgage, they finance their life away, and then they go out and they go make a living. They pay it off, they get it done, and they bring those, they put them on the line, they put it all in line with their physical presence to make that statement. Why? Because it's a life and death statement.
Yeah.
It really is.
But they didn't have a backup plan. Now they're being arrested.
No, that is not true. That is not true. They put it all on the line. The backup plan, hey, I'm going into battle and I'm fighting the bad guys. The backup plan, I got people covering my back while I do the fight. And if I'm only worried about how I'm going to escape before I ever get started, I might not be doing the fight at all, because there's no safe way fully to engage in battle.
So what's the next step for these guys? They're all getting arrested right now.
Okay, well, what's the next step? They went in there knowing that they were probably going to get arrested. It's do or die. Now the question is, who else is showing up? Who else will show up? The real issue is a very tiny percentage of the overall population brought their asset, put it on the line, said, we're just going to shut it down until we get some level of satisfaction. So they come in, these guys aren't shooting their way out. The way the terrorism laws are set up, they're emergency laws up in Canada. If you're doing that sort of thing, you're doing something that's terroristic. And
my idea is terroristic?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, and of course, we have agreements between countries that, you know, we don't let that kind of hate thing go on and all that. So you're asking for a lot of hassle. I think people will do that, and it will be out there because people know who the ones are that are doing this and who the ones are that said no. Remember, we've had protests where the police officers showed up at the protest and took off their stuff and joined the protest, especially in other countries.
Yeah.
We had the tow truck drivers that were sent to go start towing trucks. They get there, pull out to the front of the whole thing and continue the demonstration to help them. So the question is, remember, the number of policing people and government people that are doing this compared to the whole population of Canada is a relatively small number. That's why Poland was a great model. The Polish people showed up and said, you know, the unions showed up, the church showed up, and there was a moment where they just shut the whole country down. When it was just the shipbuilders union, then it looked like the government could prevail and everybody was watching. When all of a sudden the government decided that they were going to take all those people, start throwing them in jail, it was all over. Before they really got much momentum, the whole country showed up and stopped it dead in its tracks. I mean, imagine in Canada a demonstration the size of what happened in Canberra.
Yeah.
They're not going to get to the jail if everybody shows up. Do you respond slowly to what the government is doing, or you respond quickly? Once they get their prisoners off into the right jails and begin the jail process and the court process, look what happened to the people on January 6th, a lot of whom never went into the Capitol, who all sorts of bizarre crimes are alleged against, and they're in jail, and their cases are nowhere close to getting adjudicated in court. They're in the gulags of DC. I mean, literally. So the process grinds along because they can get away with it. It's the same thing here, Nino. They're hoping that once they've got custody, they just grind it out. They go as slow as they possibly can. They act like they're going super fast. They get, you know, everybody all amped up and it's going to be whatever. And then they drag this thing out forever. They'll bleed those families dry. They'll bleed them of their ability to ever work again. They can't get insurance. They can't get the truck out of hock. They got to pay $1 gazillion worth of fines. And they'll bleed them to death. So the question is, does the rest of the population, now that these guys went out and remember in the movie Braveheart, when Wallace is out there and he's saying what he says to the commander on the other side. And the guy with him says, what are you trying to do? Do you realize that they can't agree to that? And Wallace says, you know, what I'm doing is picking a fight.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not
that.
here to, I cannot accept what they're trying to force me to do. We can't take that. So they go, no. I'm not trying to resolve this. I'm trying to pick a fight. What are you thinking? I'm trying to pick a fight. Well, these guys went out there, they picked a fight. And the question is the rest of Canada going to show up?